because we had been betrayed by people we knew, because people who were to go with us didn't, and we felt disillusioned and hurt. And Brady kept us there, and we honor him today, not because of him only, because we recognize his role. We recognize the role of his comrades, of Matthew Goniwe, of Stelo Mhlauli, of Godolos and others, because those are the people he worked with. We honor him because we honor the other giants, Pius Langa, Arthur Chaskalson, Bram Fischer, and many more who built this road. They may never had the opportunity to do what we did, but they built something. We're not pioneers, they were. We've been building on what they did. And I want to say today, because many things have been said about this bar, it's a black bar. It's never gonna work. Yes, it is a black bar, and it is a female bar, if you like. And I'll tell you why. Because it's important that when you build something in a country with our history, if you build something that is new, you call it by its name. You call the maladies and problems that you've faced by their names. And the names are this. South Africa is what it is because white people oppressed black people. If you want me to put that politely, you are not committed to true non-racialism. You want us to bend over backwards to please other people rather than to build a new nation of equals. And so we thank him today for that courage, for allowing us to learn from him. But one of the milestones, and we do this because the advocate's profession has never had a school. Despite its pompous posture, we've never had a school. We teach people on an ad hoc basis. And not very, very few people who are advocates are good teachers for that matter. Because the psychology of teaching people, the pedagogy, the idea about teaching is understanding the history, the context, and the people you're teaching. It's not just to put them in a room and tell them about contract law. It's to understand their context, to understand where they come from. And we decided to have, for the first time, the School of Advocacy, which we're building. And it's there. It's going to start. And I want to tell you today that we've just completed. We had 200 applications of talented people who were to take 15 or 17. Difficult task. First, because we don't have money to run the school we've built. In fact, I was telling Stephen yesterday, do you have 100,000 rand and something so that we can maybe put something in? Because we've promised people we would pay them a stipend, and by the way, we will. We will pay these pupils until they finish their pupillage. And we've taken these people, 17 of them, most of whom of them women. We've taken them because these are not people from middle-class backgrounds. It's a combination of South Africans. And we took them because we thought, if we are true to what we say, we must produce lawyers of high quality so that we can vanquish all the stereotypes that our people have faced unjustifiably for decades and for centuries. And I want to introduce to you today the group of people. I don't know where our pupils are sitting, but I said they should be invited. Can you raise your hand there? All of them. Can you stand up? Well, let me tell you about all of them, not individually. These are people, some of whom have done great work in different places. But I'm going to point out two of them to you. Because one of the dangers that an organization like a bar like Pabasa faces is to reproduce the old structures that it was criticizing, to have the same culture. And so when we were having interviews about this, interviewing these pupils, we met different people. And when we finished, some of them interviewed very well, others were horrible. And then when we finished, I think I called Nazrin. And I said, Naz, what is the difference between Pabasa and other structures? Why are we different? And Nazrin mumbled something. And I said, just now we've finished and we were impressed with a lot of pupils, potential pupils from multiracial schools. They speak English with a twang and they're quite great. What happens to that guy who grew up like me from a farm? What happens to a guy from the dusty streets of Chesterville or Zwede who would never be taken? What do we do? And he doesn't interview well. Of course he doesn't speak English well. Where can he ever be taken if Pabasa doesn't take them? And yet we found two people I'm going to point out to you. And I don't know whether they're here. Is Tsanke here? He's not. Tsanke Sibata is a pupil we took for one reason. This is a woman who's a secretary to one of our colleagues in Pretoria. Didn't get satisfied that she was a secretary. She worked herself. She still is a secretary to one of our colleagues. And we took her because that sheer determination of a woman who is a child in desperate conditions, not to be satisfied with where she is, what others would call her station in life, is someone we must train. I'm going to embarrass the next guy, and it's the last thing I'm going to do. This gentleman, we took him, and I'm going to embarrass him because it's not because he interviewed well that we took him. And I'm not saying he doesn't. You'll hear my story about him, and I think I persuaded many members of our panel about him. And when we finished, and this guy has been rejected by all the bars, and I asked Nazrin and others, this guy, who's like me, who's like you, who's like the Chief Justice when he was at the University of Natal, and all of us who come from poor backgrounds, no white bar will take him. Let me tell you what he did. This guy comes from a farm in Orange Free State. It's a farm area, was born there. First ambition that he had, and I think he thought he had a good job, he was a security guard for a long time to feed his family on a farm. And then he got his job as a security guard. He moved to Joburg. I think he was a security guard at Prasa, somewhere, counting our cars when we go there to see our clients, I'm told. And then while he was there, he got a better job to go to the SA. He finished the army, the SANDF. And there he was a soldier, lowly soldier. Taught himself, studied his LLB slowly. This guy from a farm security guard now is trying an LLB. Ultimately, he finished it. And then I asked him after the interview, because as I said, when I say he didn't interview well, I'm not saying he was nervous. And I can see why. And I know why I was nervous when I came to the city. And I said to him, why do you want to... Oh, it would be important for... He said it would be important for the people I left on the farm that I'm now an advocate, and no bar has taken me before. And I tried to persuade other members to take it. The story is something, and I would like him to come up here and I'll show him. I'll tell you the one last thing about him. We didn't know him. He just pitched. I think he was wearing that suit. This is the gentleman. We took him because he's traveled. This is sheer determination of someone who's poor, who has been rejected throughout the country trying to be an advocate. And we thought, in fact, I think we had not taken you, but it was because we have to reflect. When we finished, we said, who are we taking and why? And if we take these people, how different are we from places where we come from? Old boys clubs that take people because they come from the same school, they come from private schools, their fathers were judges, their fathers were lawyers or CEOs. If this guy is not taken by us, then we would have not taken the Chief Justice when he went to University of Natal. We wouldn't have taken the JP. We wouldn't have taken Brady because they were like this. They came from poverty and look where they are. And we decided we're going to take many of those peoples that would not be taken anywhere and make it our point that we make them better advocates so that they get a place in the world. Thank you. And finally, I want to thank different structures of the legal profession, NADEL and the BLA, because we still want to work with them, because we believe that what stands between us and what we want to do is our inability to unite. It's the oppressed failing to unite. It's people who are unable to do what is right and unite around a principle, regardless of their differences. It's actually why the system sustains itself. It's because the system always throws our own against us, and we allow ourselves to differ about little things and forget about big things. And our biggest enemies as we sit in this room now, if I ask you to close your eyes and think, what is the biggest problem in South Africa? Who are our biggest problems in South Africa? I bet you won't think of Magnus Malan. You won't think of B.J. Foster. You won't think of Adrian Flock. You would think of people like yourself that you've created in your mind as your enemy, when actually it's the system that put us here, and we must be able to do something about it. I want to thank the judges. I want to thank everyone who's come here. I want to thank each and every colleague who's here, including PABASA members who still are elsewhere in other places. Our role is to lead this profession, all of us, black and white, because we accept that we want a version of non-racialism that is sustainable, that is not a cover, that is not fiction, that is real, that does not build itself on telling those who are oppressed to be polite, to mind their business, and to be nice. And we formed this because we want to start. It's a small step for us. And I want to thank all of you. The Chief Justice, I have twisted his arm to be here. He's jet-lagged, but they'll tell you about it. The JP, the DJPs, all of them, they've given us so much support. It was important for us because we were being doubted by our own. And had you not supported us, we wouldn't have finished this year. Thank you very much.